ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधिताम् भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथिताम् पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीम् भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्दधामि। भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। My namaskars to you all. We are deliberating on the verses from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. So, to bring up the context, until here, until in 8th chapter, what has happened? So, right from the first chapter, Arjuna's mental turmoil, capsizing of his mind by his emotions of grief, and delusion or moha arising out of it. And then equally shocking treatment by Bhagwan Sri Krishna. So that Jnana Yoga, then its relation to karma, what we know as Karma Yoga, and that Karma Yoga is also essentially, it is Jnana Yoga only, how it does not contradict the karma. So that philosophy is only Karma Yoga. It is called as Karma Yoga, it is the knowledge foundation of karma only. And then Karma Sannyasa Yoga and Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. And then these are highly philosophical ideas. As I always insisted to look Bhagavad Gita as it is a continuous and coherent dialogue. So chapters are for our conveniences. Chapters are for our conveniences. Bhagwan and Arjuna didn't have dialogue in the terms of chapters. Okay. It is the classification by the Vyasa, we can say. To study this material in that way too. But it is not like Bhagwan is taking a class and he has to oblige or have to be confined by the title of the chapter. It is not. So we have to take that out of our mind when we see that consistent idea the exchange of dialogue which is happening. Now, so idea of Dhyana Yoga comes because this idea comes that how these things are to be practically approached. So, and at the end of this 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga, now here Arjuna expresses, now he has come to somewhat senses, but he feels incapable of realizing these ideas or able to live by these ideas. He finds it difficult, and he thinks that it may not be possible to reach the end, the objective of this path, the path shown by Bhagwan, and he shows his incapacitance to Bhagwan. And there, first time Bhagwan, he very endearingly, he assures him that not to worry, not to fear. And like an abhaya, that a boon of fearlessness, he says, first time he uses the word Tata, oh my dear. He uses the word, verse number 48 in 6th chapter. Nahi kalyana krut kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. So, from that point onward, so we see the roots of bhakti. So, from verses number 29 to 32 of this same chapter, 6th chapter, he is using the word referring to himself, Mam, Sarvabhutastham Atmanam Sarvabhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshana, etc. And then in 30th verse he uses the word Mam. Mam is me, and referring to Ishvara. So I have mentioned this idea before, that these three ideas in the dialogue of Krishna will go together. That Satchidananda Nirgun Nirakar Brahman, then Sagun Nirakar Ishvara, and Sagun Sakar Ishvara Avatar. So here he says, Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra Sarvam Cha Mai Pashyati Mam, referring to Ishvara Sagun Nirakar aspect of God. So here we, from this idea, here he just is establishing, he is not propelling bhakti as such. One who sees me everywhere. Sarvabhuta sthitam yomam bhajati ekatvam astita sarvatha vartamanopi sa yogi mai vartate. That yogi is great. So he lives in me vartate. So though means conducting himself sarvatha vartamanopi, being present everywhere in the world, but he lives as if in me. It's a great idea. So one who sees and worship bhajati ekatvam, that I as the oneness which is present in all beings, sarvabhuta sthitam. And this is how he discovered this identity, atmaupamena sarvatra, in the 32nd verse. So we see this idea comes at this point, introduced at this point. Before to that, until 5th chapter and much of this 6th chapter, half of this 6th chapter, you do not see this idea coming up. The idea of worshipping a personal God. God with having anthropomorphic character. Like I can love him, I can worship him, I can surrender to him. This is the first time this idea is introduced, that he established that I, Ishvara. Now when Arjuna expresses his doubt, then his incapacity to probably not able to be conduct himself by the rigorous demands of the path. So he assures him, and then So idea about death, passing away, first time idea that and realizing this objective, because he raises a doubt that if a person cannot realize whether he will be lost forever. So kachinno bhaya vibhrashta chinna brahmaiva nashyati. Does he not, fallen from both, perish without support like a rent cloud, O mighty arm, deluded in the path of Brahman? This is what he says. Arjuna says to Krishna. So this is the doubt. And at that point onward, so idea of dying, how we are conducting our spiritual practice and realizing these spiritual goals, this topic comes up, which dominates now the further discourses until now, where we are in the 8th chapter. This idea is dominating, this idea is underlying there, or Krishna is referring again and again to these ideas. So now Krishna has as if scaled himself down, toned down himself. Now he is speaking for like ordinary individuals, because of the Arjuna. He says, I may not be able to. He says, if somebody means he. That is what he is referring to. That I may not be, because he is a Rajasic person. He is a king. By nature, he has to be like that. And his doubt, that's why it is relevant and practical, that it may not be possible. So, what he says that intellectually is appealing, that is very well. How about he do not seize possibility to realize it actually? Now, so in various ways, Bhagavan answers him, and in the end verse, in the 47th verse, Bhagavan says these things, that yoginam api sarvesham, that among all yogis, madgatena antaratmana, the one who is devoted to me, madgatena, who is always oriented, always surrendered to me, madgatena antaratmana, from the deepest of his heart, shraddhavan, this word he uses, shraddhavan, the one who has faith, who accept this idea of saguna sakar and saguna nirakar Ishvara. For this idea to become materialized, Shraddha is its bedrock. It does not perform without it. It does not perform without it. Earlier, these 4 kinds of devotees, Artha, Jigyasu, Arthati, Jnani, cha Bharatarshava. He say, Artha also, for his pain and suffering, he can call upon God. Jigyasu also, for the sake of knowledge, spiritual knowledge, or even empirical, we can extend that definition. If Jigyasu, Artharthi, one who want wealth and want to achieve his empirical goals, Artharthi, he can call upon God. All these people can call upon God. They are not exactly want God, but want something from him. They can call upon him. Bhagwan classifies them all as devotees. Though he says that among them, Jnani, who is a devotee, he is the greatest one. That is all right. But they are all classified as devotees. What is the essential condition for them? This Shraddha. That the faith, this idea is not just intellectual. This idea is not superficial. And till then it is superficial. Till it is superficial, it does not work for people. Whether he approaches it intellectually or whether it becomes a matter of sort of experience for that individual. That faith in the Saguna Sakar Ishvara, Saguna Nirakar Ishvara, howsoever, both categories. Many of the religion like Islam or Christian, they only accept Saguna Nirakar Ishvara, who does not have form. who does not have form. Allah or God. Jesus Christ is the Messiah. He is not God. He can be son of God at the best. He is not God. So Saguna Sakar Ishvara. Ishvara they accept. This idea is okay. So nobody can be compared to God. Nobody can be equal to God. In some way then they show this Trinity 1 and the 3. So Son is also Father. Alright. So Saguna Sakar Ishvara Avatar, like Jesus Christ, suppose. So he is also like his Father. Seeing the Son is seeing the Father, etc. Now this idea is introduced at the end verse of the 6th chapter. Now, how does he take this idea of meditation, idea of living this idea, and idea of worshipping, again the component of jnana, knowledge, devotion, and meditation. These three ideas combined, ideas come, this 7th chapter begins. This Vijnana, what is wisdom? Then he says that his omnipresence everywhere, that he has become everything. And but he warns in this 12th verse, that is important, in this 7th chapter, where he declares, where he cautions not to do this mistake, not to consider him as material, not to, he has become everything, but he is not the material. He is the Param Avyayam, that is, he is the transcendental aspect of it. And again, here in the 14th verse, he again, now that idea is emboldened now. Daivi hesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva e prapadyante maya metam tarantite. That because of Maya, people cannot, in the earlier verse it is said, that mohitam nabhi janati mamebhya paramam vyayam. So you cannot know, I have become everything. I have enveloped the whole universe. But this transcendental aspect of me cannot be known by the people who are deluded by these gunas. And but the person who is surrendered to me, mameva e prapadyante, one who is surrendered to Ishvara, he will be able to transmigrate from this ocean of Maya. Maya metam taranti, actually swim across from this taranti, which is floating. Taranam is floating. Okay. So they will not sink into this Maya. So this idea of bhakti is introduced here. Bhakti, devotion and knowledge. These three ideas are intertwined, and these ideas going forward. Now, in this context, so again this idea, various ideas are discussed. So in this context, so Bhagwan had, in the end of this 7th chapter, has introduced a great universal idea, that as if whole universe is he himself. This all activity is going like a yajna, and he is the yajna adhipati, yajna devata. And there is the kshara, the perishable aspect, the non-perishable aspect, etc. And seeing this thing in this way, he can continue his meditation. That is only the context of those complex ideas which came at the end of this 7th chapter. 8th chapter began. And here in the 5th chapter, again this idea came, that antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati samad bhavam yati nasti na asti atra sanshaya. That at the end, again being spoken for the people who will not be able to raise themselves or practice like a yogi or jnani. And so he is putting forward what are the next options. So even this, at the end, when you are about to pass away, if you leave the body remembering me, mam eva, then what will happen? That person will indeed reach my bhava. So ya prayati samad bhavam yati na asti atra samshaya. There is no doubt. So idea that what is then his bhava? What is that reaching to his bhava? What does that mean? Now, there is this idea, what I generally refer as spiritual evolution. Like, see, this is something, this has to be real for the individual. This cannot be pretense. It does not work. Spirituality, spiritual progress, here his concept of that reality, it is the actual thing, it is not talk in your head. It cannot be that. It must mean for that individual, it must able to transform his experience. It must be instrumental. If it is true, if it is real, it will transform that individual accordingly. How he experience, how he reacts, to what stimulus it comes to him, how the word comes and goes before him, how does he react to it? Sri Ramakrishna uses very one simple example, and it took me really, it was very difficult to understand. They are very simple words, there is nothing you cannot understand, but the idea itself was very difficult to understand. He says that you say for the Brahmagyanis, his warning. See, he says that Brahmagyanis say the path who are the people who are devoted to the path of knowledge, they go by this aphorism, Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Alright. So you are saying Jagat Mithya, trying to pluck a rose, and then a thorn pricks your thumb or finger, and immediately you are taken aback by your natural instinct, and you say, like that. Sri Ramakrishna comments upon that. He said, at one point you are saying that Brahma Jagat Mithya, there is no thorn, and you are also reacting to it. It does not go that way. This idea, I never understood it then. Probably I feel I have a little understanding of it, somewhat understanding of it. So it is not talk alone is important. That so Jagat Mithya, that rose is Mithya, that thorn is Mithya, your finger is Mithya, that blood coming out of it is Mithya, the pain arising out of it is Mithya, everything is. You do not identify with it. Only talk is not Jnana. Only lecture, it is not considered as Jnana at all. If that knowledge is really something, then it will transform your behavior, your reaction to the world. That is the ultimate test of it. So there is no point talking like that. It is, you have to really grow to that point where it actually happens. Now you have the Jnana, not before that. So, so this evolution, now see, Sister Nivedita, in her introduction to the complete works of Swami Vivekananda, she says two differences from the classical tradition of Vedanta or in general Hindu Dharma, where Ramakrishna Vivekananda takes classical departure from there, departure from the classical understanding or concepts. Like earlier, it was always believed that karma, bhakti, yoga and jnana, they are like sequential. One leads to other. You do good karma and you will be qualified for bhakti. Your heart will be rendered pure, and with bhakti you will be able to do meditation, yoga, and yoga will eventually qualify you for the jnana, and without jnana there is no moksha. So one leads to other. There is a sequential order between them. Alright. The people who are not qualified for jnana, they must start from the karma or bhakti. Okay. Etc. Whereas Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita and Advaita, these three are according to the constitution, these three are the constitution of the ideal. Like there is a choice. You can be Dvaitin, Vishishta Dvaitin or Advaitin. But here there is no choice. So this is like order. Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda, they exactly reverses these things. So Sri Ramakrishna says, Dvaita, Vishishta Dvaita and Advaita, this is the order you cannot escape. Regardless of what path you want to belong, that is dependent upon your constitution, your prakriti, your purvajanma sanskara, etc., etc. Like you might be follower of the path of the karma or bhakti or yoga or jnana. Even if you are jnani, follower of the jnana marga, you will have to start from Dvaita. What is that? His idea is that this knowledge is always dual. You have not realized anything. Even if it is bhakti. So bhakti also, when it is matured, it will have to lead to Advaita only. Whether it is karma, whether it is yoga. So this is the progress of the individual. So this is the evolution of spirituality. This has to happen. Ideas, they are just ideas in your head. You interact with it, you deliberate, you process them, and they slowly try to percolate from your head to heart. So first part is called, I consider this as a Sravana, understanding the theory of it. Second part is Manana, where it becomes personal to you. This information matures into emotion. It means something to you. And without that, it never become instrument for change. Change within you. It never shows any effect as long as it is just information in your head. You are just talking. It's just noise. It doesn't mean anything. If you cannot correlate to it, if you cannot simulate your life view and life experience based upon that, integrating those ideas into your life experience, you are trying to live that. So first understanding, then trying to form a view. You are as if imposing yourself upon that or imposing that view upon your life and have a new picture. If I believe in this idea, how I am supposed to believe, how I am supposed to behave, how I am supposed to talk, how I am supposed to react. If this is true, if I do believe in this idea, how will be my life? Whether I will do this, whether I should not. Manana. So a theoretical plan is formed. And nididhyasana is like you are going to practice, you are going to master, you are really trying to make it your being. That's why Swami Vivekananda says, Here knowing is being. You know something, you be that. And then that part we call this emotion now percolates down to your guts. It becomes your instinct. You are, when that knowledge is yours, when you do not have to think about it and act, then it is yours. You do not have to calculate and act. It has become you. You have become that. Now, this is what spiritual progress is like. This is how an evolution of a spiritual individual takes place. So, in bhakti also, smaran muktva kalevaram. So, idea of Ishvara, idea of believing this, as much he refines that idea, that much it will be yap prayati samadbhavam. He will attain, in degrees he has realized and refined that, he will attain to that nature. He will attain to that nature. If it is not reached that kind of maturity, that kind of density and saturation, he will have to take birth. And again, the ideas from the 6th chapter will apply. He might take birth. If there is more vasanas remaining, he will born in a rich family. If there is a more spiritual quotient is dominating, then he might take birth in the family of a devotee, where it will be able to take further his course of spiritual journey forward. But devoting oneself to God, worshipping a God, propitiating a form of God, that devotion idea is slowly it will reflect into that individual. He will attain to his bhava. Attain to its bhava. So, like constant company of someone that transforms that individuals to behave, talk, and also changes his likes, dislikes, etc. And sometimes some people, individual who are so charismatic, so powerful, influencing, they truly transform other individuals. They cast themselves in their own mold. So, this is being a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. It will slowly bring in, grain by grain, bit by bit, drop by drop, character of that devotee, of that divine form into that devotee. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, Swami Devakantayanandaji says, realizing God is becoming God. That is the grand idea. So, until then, this journey will continue until he is free of all or any kind of desires. If he have any soever desire left within him, he will have to take birth. Even as noble as to help others, kindness to others. Any desire, howsoever noble may be, if it remains, he or she will have to take birth. So, and he says in this now the sixth verse, the corollary of it, like one who remembers me. Now, me, what I am to him, that when I am remembering God, what is God for me? Is it a mere word? I say Krishna, Rama, or something else. Whatever, Shiva, Kali. What is your idea of God? Not what lecture you can give. What do you mean? What do you realize? How does it weigh upon you? That is the most important question. That is the real worth of what you are talking. I am saying name of a God, So I should be given pass directly, their birth will be booked and I will get some nice treatment. Come out of this folly. This will not happen. Neither Bhagwan is giving you any cheap tactics, neither you are going to have it. It is not like that. Definitely not. So you are not going to cheat anyone. So how much you have realized, how much you have made it real? What do you mean when you say that, utter that name? कौन राम है ये? दशरथ का बेटा भी राम हो सकता है और किसी भी 10 लोगों का बेटा राम हो सकता है. कहीं ऑफिस में काम करता है, कहीं झाड़ू मार रहा है, कहीं बगीचा में काम. कौन राम? किस राम को बुला रहे हो? Which Ram you are calling upon? Do you really realize कि ये वही राम है, शुद्ध ब्रह्म परात्पर राम, कालात्मक परमेश्वर राम? Do you understand that? Are you really oriented, or you really that reality is real for you? How much? Now everything will weigh upon this. So there is no cheating that भगवान मैंने तो आपने तो बोला था गीता में, मैंने तो आपको तो याद कर लिया. तो तुमने मुझे जितना समझा है, जिस तरह से बुलाया है, उतना ही मैं तुमको मिलूंगा. So there is no cheating happening in spiritual life. So it is the test of all truth. So if we have any cunning or conniving idea in our mind, we have to tell ourselves, better get rid of this. Nothing is going to work. Unless utmost straightforwardness. So in the corollary he says, va means or otherwise, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So the person who is otherwise remembering whatsoever bhava. Swamiji uses word here, bhava, idea or object. Whatsoever you might be thinking of, your money, your wealth, maybe you are revengeful, you maybe are grudging, or you are simply suffering helplessly, whatever your condition, whatsoever dominates your mind at that time, while living this body. It is not easy. It is not going to be easy. Remember that. Living this body is not going to be easy. Because we had been attached, we had been identified with this all along. We do not know nothing other than this body. When I say I, can I dissociate with this idea of body? All the time I am saying, अरे मुझे इतनी प्यास लगी है, तुम पानी नहीं दे रहे हो, मुझे कोई देख नहीं रहा है, हाँ इधर बिछाना गीला हो गया है, पीला हो गया है, whatsoever. या फिर इधर दर्द हो रहा है, और you might be simply unconscious, कि तुमको होश ही नहीं है. You might be, there is no question of then deliberately trying anything. If you are delirium, if you are not in control of yourself, forget that then. These options does not even come before you. Remembering this or that. Alright. When suppose somebody is passing by heart attack, how does he remember God? He does not remember God. वो देख रहा है कि मतलब कोई उसका पिल लेना है क्या, फिर को मतलब डॉक्टर को कॉल करना है क्या, समथिंग. If it is massive heart attack, it takes no time to pass. How much your people are even aware that death is approaching, that I should stop my attempt and pay my attention to God. Is it joke? There used to be people earlier time who is to decide his day of departure. There is to be people. Forget about, like we see that in the life of Sri Ramakrishna Vivekananda. But I heard these stories from father of my grandfather. So my grandfather told me these things, how his father passed away, how he chose a date, how he made everything ready, and then he passed away. He met all people. He made a place ready where to pass away. Can you imagine? So these people, and whereas the condition of ordinary people, it is not possible, because that person, that individual has earned so much. So we are not going to cheat anyone. So whatever circumstances we are born in, or with whatever baggage we are born, we will have to work, and this we have to remember. So nothing is going to come easy without trying, without hard work, without paying its due cost. It is not going to come. So trying to become sincere, honest in this approach, it should be, rather it will place us more comfortably in the reality, instead of whitewashing or relabeling it, or trying to cheat others, trying to be dishonest with ourselves. So the person whosoever thinking of whatsoever other ideas, he will attend to those ideas. So Krishna's approach is not something that if you remember me, then everything is taken care of. If you remember something else, then I am not bothered about it. Rather than he is exactly putting it in a very scientific way. So this is the, howsoever you pass away, thatsoever you will be your fate. So there is no intervention. Now, rather he is keeping the idea before him very, very open in front of Arjuna. So this is how it works. So exploit it to your best advantage. So in earlier class also I said that dying is very important, because in most of the life what we achieve is very little. So to be born in a very favorable circumstances is always will be sought for, because that is have a very significant effect in what we are going to do in our life. So that's how this idea is placed. 5th and 6th verse. In the 7th verse, Bhagavan is saying, therefore, tasmat sarveshu, in kaleshu, in all times, mam anusmara yudhyacha. So the activity like war, you can imagine how complex and how intense it is, how that every minute of it is occupied by parallel overlapping concerns. It can be that you are not only fighting your war. If suppose there is a person like stature of Arjuna, his mind must be engulfed in so many other ideas. That's how wars are like. He is not doing a desk job, that you do your work and go away at the end of the day. So there are various factors, and the Arjuna is one of the leading commanders, very important person. So inputs must be receiving what is going on in the war, and we can imagine it. If any war movies you might have seen, you can imagine how it is. If we have not fought any wars in actual battlefront, but from the movies at least we can see the intensity of it. We can imagine. Now he is saying, in sarveshu kaleshu, for in all times, mam anusmara, remember me, and fight, and do this, fight this battle of war. Now we have to take this idea, then if Krishna is advocating this thing in war, then definitely it must be practical in whatsoever day jobs or our daily life is. We are not able to do that, that is our failure. But certainly it is doable. It is advocated. It is possible. So, and in the second part he says, Mayyar Pita Mano Buddhi Mameva Eshyasi Asamshayam. Asamshayah. So there is no doubt that thus given your Mayyar Pita Arpana is offered, and here you can say surrendered or offered, given to me, Mai Arpita, in me, which is offered what? Mana and Buddhi. So among of our Antakarana, these two faculties. So Buddhi is considered as Satvika, Mana is considered as Rajasika, Ahankara is considered as Tamasika. Sometimes Chitta is considered as the part of Mana itself. So, depending upon the, but Mana is deliberately involved in Sankalpa, Vikalpa. That's why it is Rajasika. And being deciding faculty, Buddhi is considered as the Satvika, because when Sattva arises, Jnana arises, and you are able to decide. Whereas Mana is not able to decide, the confusion, which is the hallmark of the Rajasa. In Tamasa, you have exactly opposite knowledge. So Ahankara, or it is a confusion that you are Jada and you are having owning all attributes of Chit or Chaitanya. That's a great confusion. You are Jada. Mana, Chitta, Buddhi, Ahankara, they are mind. Mind is matter. It is Jada. It is insentient. But you think yourself as Chaitanya. That's why Ahankara, you do not want to die, because you are immortal. You want to have infinite everything, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. But that is the nature of the Chaitanya, Atman. You are not Atman. So great confusion. That confusion is called as Ahankara. Chit Jada Granthi. You are Jada and you consider yourself as Chit, thinks like a Chit or behaves like a Chit. You are not Chit. You are not Chaitanya. So that is Tamasa. So here Mana and Buddhi. So Chitta's function is providing data. It is the repository of the data according to the demands of Mana, Buddhi or Ahankara. Not only that, if he is simply sitting idle, like a shopkeeper, वो जो सेल्स पर्सन होता है ना, तो आप खरीदने कुछ आए हैं दुकान में, वो आपको तीसरा ही कुछ दिखा रहा है, ये नया आया है, लेंगे क्या, इंटरेस्टेड है क्या? So Chitta also behaves in this fashion. Not only it provides what you are asking are relevant, it sometimes you find you are sitting idle and bored. So will you try this? Will you eat this? Will you drink this? Will you go here? Or reminds you of something. Why don't you open your phone, open WhatsApp, or see some video, or play some game or something? Because there is no action, it wants to provoke you for some kind of action. You do not have much control over Chitta. You do not have much control over Ahankara also, how you are going to feel or not. There is much control over mind possible. Buddhi is again much control factor. So Mana and Buddhi is offered to God in him. What does mean offered? Mean ताला चाबी बंद करके फेंक दिया, दिल दिमाग खत्म, बात दे दिया भगवान तुमको, अभी कुछ न करने का नहीं है, अभी मैं लड़ाई करूंगा, मैं अर्पित मनो बुद्धि. और ऐसा करने से भगवान बोल रहे कि तुम मेरे पास आके पहुंचेगा, तो मेरे पास आके पहुंचेगा कि नहीं मुझे पता नहीं. हाँ, so this can never be the meaning of it, because ceasing from its natural functioning is tamasa, going to the lower frequency than the normal. You are abandoning something which is natural to you, that cannot be the higher position. That is going lower than your normal. So we are trying to see here something transcend our limits, not going below our limits. Here, Mayar Pita Mana Buddhi means offering your mind and intellect, your cogitative and deciding faculties to God, meaning that you are oriented now by the deciding faculty. That person would be convinced. If there arises his doubt, he will, by his cogitative faculty, by his reasoning faculty, he will try to find out the solution for it, so that buddhi is again established. So these both work for one ideal, one objective. What is that? Mam anusmara yuddhacha. His only that offer intellect and his mind, they are only working for this direction, how to achieve this idea. Mam anusmara, that has to be achieved. That I am in constant remembrance of God, and this war should go on. How to achieve this perfect integration and flow, and how much to reduce drag upon your faculties. मैं ऐसा नहीं कर सकता जहां से अर्जुन दिखा रहा है कि मतलब वो तीर छोड़ रहा है, बाण छोड़ रहा है, जय भगवान एक मारा, जय भगवान दूसरा मारा. This appears very crude. So all his mind and his intellect is working how to refine, to explore his full potential. What does that mean? Mam anusmara yuddhacha. That all confluence of that knowledge, devotion and meditation has to happen in that action. In that action. Complete, absolute integration. And when that will be achieved, that person is at peace. That person is like floating in the river of bliss. That karma as if he himself is not doing. That as if he is in meditation. In the midst of that war. People are dying, or he even might get injured. Good, bad, ugly, everything is happening. There is a turmoil, there is this din and bustle. That kolahala is going on. There would be ugliness of the character of the people. Cheating, betrayal. That it can enrage any noble person. But he is seeing it like a sakshi. The full potential of integration of this jnana, bhakti, or jnana, yoga, bhakti into karma. So Arjuna, Bhagwan is never advocating कि तुम ब्रह्म हो तो तुम अपना, अर्जुन तो वही चाह रहा था. Arjuna was asking for it, to go to some caves, renounce this, even if required to live by begging alms. He said no. That is degeneration. That is degeneration. If you want to really renounce, so this is the way. This is the way of renunciation. Mam anusmara yuddhacha. You do what you are required to do. Rise above it. Do not be confined by it. Do not be shackled by it. You are not doing for any petty motive of yours personal or even larger one. You see yourself as a third person. You are a warrior. You are in this situation. You are supposed to fight. Just fight. Lift yourself up. Mam anusmara yuddhacha. And how this is going to be achieved? Mayar pita mano buddhi. He is constantly given his faculties, his deliberating and decisive faculties, discriminative faculties. for this end. When it will reach its maturity, its work will be reduced. When it will be established, they would be not intervening in your action itself. It will be just matter of experience. That is absolute offering, offered into God, offered into the divine, offered into the consciousness. This mind and intellect has situated, come to rest in the consciousness itself. And only things are happening, and that's it. This is so, however simplified the words may seem, they do not mean anything other things. There is only one thing putting it one way or other. So Hindu Dharma never teaches cowardice or this empty, vacuous or woke ideas. That Hindu Dharma never teaches. Krishna is the greatest teacher. Bhagavad Gita is one of the Prasthantrayas. And he is the Lord himself. He is speaking on the basis of Upanishads, the source, the foundation of this Dharma. He is not mistaken. He is not taking a dualistic, qualified non-dualistic or non-dualistic stand only. He is not taking. He is not taking only the stand of jnana or bhakti or only karma or yoga. He is not taking that stand. So this is how the truth is presented, and we should accept and imbibe it as it is conveyed. We do not have to be compartmentalized or silopited. This is how the ideal is presented before us. The person, so maybe we are trying, and slowly as we gain proficiency, maturity into it, how we become adept, that is our spiritual evolution. That is our spiritual earning. That is our spiritual wealth. That is who we are. No talk, no words, no noise does not have any value. How do I see? How do I react? How do I realize this world? This is the ultimate test. No matter मुझे किसी भगवान का दर्शन हो गया होगा तुमको तो दर्शन, क्या करने का, अचार डालो उसका. Even these things are not given importance, especially people who belong to, who are spiritually initiated into this Ramakrishna order. आप जाओ किसी स्वामी जी के पास, बोलना कि मुझे ठाकुर का दर्शन हुआ है, पागल समझ के निकाल देंगे तुमको. Nobody will pamper you. बोलना मेरा कुंडलिनी जागरण हुआ है, तो बोले तुम ठीक है, आओ थोड़ा प्रसाद वसाद खाओ, मंदिर में बैठते जाओ, अच्छे से दोपहर प्रसाद खाने के लिए आना. Nobody will entertain even a bit. I have witnessed this hundreds of times. बोले मुझे प्राणायाम करना है, बोले जो ठीक है और कहीं जगह किसी जगह पे जाओ. बहुत बार लोग आते हैं पूछते हैं यहाँ पे मेडिटेशन के क्लासेस होते हैं क्या? नहीं, हमारे यहाँ पे मेडिटेशन के क्लासेस होते नहीं. So so we will take a break here, and so spirituality and the spiritual realization, spiritual life, so they should become real, really real. They are not just mental consolations. They are not your pastimes. They are not your hobbies. They are not meant for make you feel good. They are not meant for it. It is a real pursuit in higher dimensions for a human being, of whose these material and psychological cravings have come to a satiety to certain extent. And for those people who are knocking on that curve of spiritual evolution, who want to ride upon that, they will have to come to terms with the notions of this reality, of this dimension. Here, no pretense, no fakery, no dishonesty will reward you with anything. It will only delay your progress, your growth. So this is what we have to orient, we must think in these terms. मैं कहता था कि जनरली कितने लोग यहाँ दीक्षा लेने आते हैं, जमीन को पैर लगने के लिए तुमको कितने साल लग जाते हैं, उसके बाद तो चलने की बात. सब लोग कहीं ना कहीं ऐसे उड़ रहे होते हवा में. वेरियस आइडियाज टू रियली कम एंड लेट योर feet touch the ground, it takes several years. It takes several years. Coming to the ground means you are absolutely refined in your ideas, what is what, and you are not what you say like you are not having sugar coated pills. And when that thing, then you are in business of spirituality, not before that. So, read Sri Ramakrishna's life, read his teachings, Swamiji's life, Swamiji's teachings, deliberate yourself and pray to God, and if you are sincere and honest, definitely He will show you the way. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.